no tail. The tail may be down on the ground.
That's a bit better problem, man, don't you, buddy? So when you're ready, folks, feel free to climb aboard here. Just watch the heads on that getting on. Steady, good man. Yeah, just upstairs, folks.
Natin yung sandwiches natin, sabi ko na nga ba eh. Yeah, I think you can. Saan? Saan ka makapark? Wala. O dun sa side. Mamaya. Baba tayo. Loch Ness tour. Isa Anton, atin, look sa atin. Anton, look at...
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard the Nessie Hunter. Now, my name is Mike Bell, and I'll be your skipper for today. So just a quick few words about safety to start with. Our life jackets are located in the front cabin down below me, and on the foredeck there we have the life rafts. Now, in the interests of safety, when we do return to the harbour at the end of the trip, can you please wait until I've secured all the lines and told you it is safe to get off before you attempt to do so? So Loch Ness is the largest body of fresh water in the United Kingdom and one of the deepest freshwater lochs in the whole of Europe. Now the loch is nearly 37 kilometres long, that's 23 miles, and it has an average width of 1.5 kilometres. Now the average depth of Loch Ness is only 133 metres, or around 430 feet, but the deepest recorded depth goes all the way down to 248 metres, or 812 feet. Now if you could remove all the water from Loch Ness, you could fit the world's population into the resulting void 5 times over. The Loch Ness is so large that we actually have more drinkable water than all the reservoirs and lakes of England and Wales combined. Took around 20 hours to swim the entire length of Loch Ness. Now until recently, that stood as a very long-standing record. However, in August 2016, a local lady called Helen Beveridge stepped into the water at the west end of the loch at 5:30 in the morning and reached the other end of the loch at 1 minute to midnight, having taken 18.5 hours to swim the entire 23 miles. So folks, if anyone's feeling energetic or is looking for a new challenge in life, 18.5 metres in a normal, everyday bathing costume. Of peat being suspended in the water, having been washed out from the hillsides around us. Now, wild peat water may be great for making many fine Scottish malt whiskies, it has hindered research here under the loch for the simple reason that no amount of sophisticated technology will allow you to see more than 2 or 3 feet ahead of you. Now you may be surprised to learn that the bottom of the loch is exceptionally flat. Now this has been caused by glacial activity smoothing the bottom of the glen over thousands of years, and also by the build-up of sediment. Now we actually have a layer of radioactive sediment beneath us here, a result of the radioactive fallout from the Chernobyl nuclear disaster back in 1986.
Right.
So despite being told at the time that we weren't affected by that incident, the evidence that we were lies beneath us here. And the side walls of the loch are extremely steep. They're basically a continuation of the hillsides that you can see on either side of us here, and they'll drop straight down to the floor of the glen. Again, when you could remove all the water from Loch Ness, you'd be left with a shape that resembles a bathtub. It would be flat. We've had many scientific surveys conducted here at Loch Ness, the first being in 1903, conducted by a man called John Murray. Now, while many of these surveys have been conducted by purely scientific purposes, as I'm sure you can guess, we've had many surveys conducted here with one purpose only. That one purpose being to try and find whatever it is that lives in Loch Ness. Before we actually have to turn. water here, around 500 feet, and that's over twice the average depth of the North Sea. Now we've still got 110 metres of water here, around 300 feet, and you can actually fit the London Eye, the big Ferris wheel on the River Thames, beneath the boat here.
Oh. Grabe. Yan kalapit. Is that ano, that's near the shore. Grabe. Baka andyan na si Nessie. Kaya nga. Ito malapit sa shore. Grabe. Lupit, no? Sa shore na yan. So, walang pwede mag-swim dito dahil.
Now, even this close into the shoreline, we've still got 17 metres of water here, around 55 feet or so. The lesson to learn, folks, you never go too far from the shoreline of Loch Ness, or you'll soon find yourselves in very deep water. Now I'm going to tell you all about the castle when we get a wee bit closer to it. An impressive looking castle. So what remains of it now includes the tower house that we're just passing on our left, and above that you'll see a low wall, the gentleman holding the longest selfie stick I've ever seen. And that's the castle's dovecot. That's the oldest part of Urquhart Castle. Now it's believed by many that the castle was built in the early 1200s by the Scottish king William the Lion. Now the castle witnessed considerable conflict throughout its 500 years as a military fortress. Now following the invasion of King Edward I of England in 1296, the castle fell into English hands. It then featured prominently in the Scottish struggle for independence after the crowning of Robert the Bruce as King of the Scots in 1306, and by 1308 the Scots had retaken control of the castle. However, by the late 1600s, the castle was once again back in English hands. Now this was the time of the Jacobite rebellion in Scotland. Now the Jacobites were followers of King James II of England, the 7th of Scotland, and they wanted to restore the Stuart House. For the castle to fall into Jacobite hands, the English decided to simply blow the castle up. So they placed explosives in the gatehouse and along parts of the castle's walls and detonated them. And if you visit the castle today, you'll still see evidence of where some of these explosions took place. So in 1692, the castle was abandoned and it slowly fell into the ruin that you see beside us today. Now it did become very popular with the local population at this point, as many... So this part of the loch that we are coming into now is known as Urquhart Bay. Now this is the widest part of Loch Ness here, being about 1.5 miles or 2.4 kilometres from shoreline to shoreline. Now it's also generally the calmest part of the loch, although it is exceptionally calm out there today. Now it's not unusual for us to be sailing with 6 to 7 foot waves. The loch can get very rough indeed on some days. It's good fun when it's like that. However, even when it is like that, you'll often find that when you come into the bay here, it is still relatively calm. The hills around us on 3 sides provide the bay with some reasonable protection from the worst of the elements we are leaving the harbour. You may have noticed that large building with a blue door that's now directly ahead of us. Well, that's our lifeboat station. Now Loch Ness is the only inland body of water in the whole of the UK to have its own dedicated lifeboat rescue service, and I can assure you it does get plenty of use. Now 2017 was our busiest year on record when they had 38 call-outs that year alone. One of the most memorable of these involved a young couple on one of the many hire boats we get here on Loch Ness. Well, they were making their way down to Fort Augustus one day when the young man aboard decided he fancied going for a swim. So, out in the middle of the loch, he jumped in the water, and it was only then that he realised that there was no ladder to get back on his boat. He then watched as the wind took said boat some considerable distance away from him. He ended up spending around 45 minutes in the water, by which time he was fully hypothermic. Fortunately, he was airlifted out and rushed to the local hospital in Inverness, where thankfully he made a full recovery.
But if you own the like, if you like the like
Grabe
right
yung mga
next
bahay
to
na yan, na-overbook sa kanila.
Around that's
Alin? Bahay? Yan. Oo, ganda yan. Sabi mo ganda rin yung may dito sa Scotland na rin.
So just as we start to make our way into the harbour here, if I could just remind you to please wait until I've secured all the lines. Now on behalf of Loch Ness Cruises, I would like to thank you for coming out onto the water today with me, And wherever your onward journey is now taking you, I hope it is a safe and pleasant one.
Two ducks. Ducks.
Yung driver natin, yun din yung nagsasalita.
Mike Tyson. It's Mike Tyson. Yeah, Mike. I saw him running the shot.
Okay folks, we're just going to get downstairs group off first, get yourselves down next to you guys. Thank you. Okay man, that's yourself good to get off you, okay?